Yo, ONORA boys in the building. Lucky Lefty podcast brought to you by ONORA Whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com. That premium American whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com. And if you drink, make sure you do so.
Responsibly.
You got to do it responsibly. CFB Nation presented by Twisted Tea.
Yeah.
Hey,
Never miss a beat on that one.
hey, you know when you hit the right note, but it's the wrong note,
It's the right but the wrong note. I get that
right?
one.
It's like saying something, cracking a joke to your girl, and she laughs because it's not funny, but it's silly, and she just thinks you're cute, so she laughs anyway.
Yeah, it's
You know what I'm
goofy,
saying?
silly. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's
that's right.
goofy. You know how it is. You know how it is,
It's like you gonna
man.
laugh because you know it was funny for real.
Yo,
Yeah,
so I forgot I had this breakfast with my dad this morning, right?
that's right.
And so I was laughing because he was asking about the show, and I was like, "Yo, everything's good," and he was like, man, how's Malik doing?" I was like, "Yo, he had one of our experiences flying back from his." He was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Like, man, his plane was on the tarmac for a while." He was like, so my father immediately sits up and says, "Like Minnesota?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like Minnesota." So, like, true story, man. Our family flies out to California for family vacation, right?
Okay.
They leave on Friday. Me and my dad stay behind, of course, to make sure church is fine on Sunday.
Yeah, everything straight squared away.
Right. So we immediately leave church, drive to O'Hare to catch a plane. The only flight that would get us there was a connecting flight from Minnesota to Ontario,
Oh,
right? And because we were driving down to what's the resort town south of Ontario? I forget.
it's Big Bear, right?
No, it's not Big Bear. It is the other one that's in the desert. It's real hot. What is it? I should.
Oh,
I'm bugging.
Tahoe, Lake Tahoe.
No. But anyway, so this is the middle of summer, bro. It's like 95 everywhere.
Jesus.
So we land in Minnesota. So to connect, we sit on the tarmac because they don't have a gate for us. So they shut the plane down. You shut the plane down, you cut the air off.
That's
So we're on
true.
the
They do that.
tarmac in 96 degrees, baking
No air.
for an hour. And we missed our connecting flight. It was the worst.
But why they cut off the jet though?
Dude, man. It was just so,
I know people on the plane was tight.
man, you triggered my dad this morning, bro. It's one of the worst experiences because I'm younger at that point. So,
You can take
I,
it.
I, I could cope with it. Him being older, it was really messing with him. So he was like, "Man,
Yeah,
tell
he's
that
older.
brother."
He's like, man, I am not
Yeah.
handling this real.
He was like, "Tell that brother I understand what he went through."
Yeah, being stuck on that tarmac is something different because you just instantly get irritated because you're like, I know they're not disorganized like this. All these planes here, they don't got nothing to get us off. I see, when I went on a plane with Mike Tyson before, he got off before everybody else on the tarmac. Had the Porsche waiting for him at the bottom of the plane. He might have taken 10 steps through that entire airport because his car was outside of the plane, not ground transportation. Not
Yeah.
you got to walk through and go through baggage claim. That Porsche was waiting on him. And he got off 20 minutes before anybody else could get off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he stood up so quick. I'm like, hold on, you guys sit down and, let. They said he had a special exit.
So Lucky Lefty podcast. Benjamin Morrison and Cam Hart will be back for Clemson. Tight end Mitchell Evans is out for the season, torn ACL. on the hit team. A lot of people upset saying that he shouldn't have been on the field at that point because Notre Dame was in control of the game. Look,
Part
injuries
of the
can happen
season.
at any point in time, and
That's
I
right.
understand that. Heck, it was a minute left in the fourth quarter of a playoff game with the Bulls up 11, and Derrick Rose tore his ACL. So I know your pain, especially as a Bulls fan. That pick, the whole future of the Bulls was done, just done.
But realistically, he had what two more seasons before just the game changed at that point because that's when the threes start getting hot. And
Well,
he wasn't a good shooter at that point.
you have to hit while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
He hit at the only time that the Bulls could win, right in the middle before the transition happened.
Win what though?
What do you mean?
LeBron was still in the East. We
Well, they were going to the Eastern Conference Championship. Well,
oh
the Pacers would never exist if Derrick Rose didn't tear his knee.
Paul George is eating now. Don't discount Paul George.
Derrick Rose was sending them home in the first round consistently. So,
yeah.
but Marcus Freeman met with the media. So let's get to it, Left. This is what he had to say. Just about, in some you talked about, it's hard to really judge your team coming off a game against a bad team because you don't want to overreact. And this is what he had to say about Saturday's game.
Saturday, just again, overall, as you go back and look and study it, I told the coaches I was extremely pleased with the overall performance, right? There's always plays that you'll look at and you want to improve on, but overall, on all three phases, there was a lot of positives. You know, defensively is the ability to hold that team, that offense to really 0 points until the fourth quarter and to create 4 takeaways is, I mean, that's huge for our team. And then offensively, you know, I love the way they responded. You know, after 2 first-half turnovers, you know, I challenged them at halftime and, you know, look back at that game. And I think offensively we truly scored probably 38 of the 58 points, you know, but to have 500-plus yards against that defense that came into the game had some good stats, you know, good statistics. So I was pleased at the overall effort from our offense. And then special teams, again, the ability to – we scored 14 points this week on special teams. That's 2 weeks in a row that we've put points on the board from our special teams unit. And so when you're able to do that on all 3 phases, you're going to have an outcome like you saw on Saturday. And so – you know, the other thing, to get the opportunity to play some of those younger guys late in the game, you don't always get the opportunity to do that. And so when you can do that in meaningful time and evaluate those guys and get them a chance to get better versus another opponent, that is invaluable experience. And so the challenge will be to continue to improve, continue to figure out why you have the performance the way you did on Saturday, and, okay, what do we have to do to take this thing to another level? That will be my challenge for our program as the head coach. We got to continue to take this thing to another level because there is another level for this team.
So he talked about another level. I love what he talked about, Left. He knew that his team was going to win that game on Saturday.
That's right.
So he was more focused about the performance, how they played, being clean, and taking the next step and building to that next level. What is that next level for this team? Because he feels like this team has another level.
Well, it would just be to continue the dominance against better competition. And I think that's what he means. Sometimes you got to stack up early to build up the confidence to play these quote-unquote bigger matchups or better teams down the line. He would love to see a 58-7 victory versus an Ohio State, versus a Clemson, versus, you know, the teams that are worth all the money for in the season. That's what the next level is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a 58-7 victory against a team that is struggling themselves isn't going to get the crowd where it should be. Especially Marcus Freeman can realize that being a former player, you just happy for the overall success of the team. We played good, did what we supposed to do. Okay, but a 58-7 victory over a Clemson, that would be the next level. A 58-7 win over USC, we damn near Cal almost did that to him, but that's still a big win. 58-7 versus Ohio State. Obviously, we would know that we would be kings of the world at that point, because if we do that to Ohio State, I can only imagine, what we would do in the championship game. So Marcus Freeman knows that that feeling has to be reserved for teams that are more credited. And once we get to that point, I think Marcus Freeman would, attain the next goal of keeping that dominance at championship level. But that's the next level for us, man. Doing what we did to Pitt to the better teams.
And just to talk about that next level, the tight end room has to step up. Their leading receiver out for the year, number one tight end. But this is the issue, right? If people talk about Mitchell Evans, I remember Mitchell Evans as a redshirt freshman, and Michael Mayer pulls a hamstring, and Virginia is supposed to be this really up and coming team, right? And Notre Dame has gone on the road at night to play Virginia prime time, and they don't have Michael Mayer. And this red shirt freshman named Mitchell Evans jumps up with like 5 catches, some like 70 yards out of nowhere. And everybody's like, yo, where'd that come from? Dude, tight ends at Notre Dame are everywhere. Turn around, there's a tight end that can play
That's right. Or you'll
in the
find a new
program.
name to fall in love with, because he'll get a couple
Absolutely.
plays and make something happen. You're like, man, we just keep reloading.
That's why a couple of weeks ago we were talking about, look, Notre Dame is literally playing 5, 6 tight ends every game.
Yeah.
Every game, 5 to 6
Tommy
tight ends.
Tremble, when he went to the league, wasn't the main starter all the time.
Had a touchdown yesterday from Bryce.
It had a touchdown yesterday. That's right. So it's like his impact is how we would love to see our receiver room, how we
Hmm.
would love to see our running back room develop, is guys being able to play by committee and then still be able to develop well enough to get drafted and be an impact at the next level as a room. Like Michael Mayer had a lot of success, but he was in the same room as Tommy Tremble, who got drafted, in the same room as Cole Kmet when he got drafted. So it just showed you the tight end room the has shown the ability of what this program could look like if it was in every unit. If we had the tight end success in every unit, or at least that type of structure, D line would have stars popping out, receivers would have stars popping out, and it wouldn't look like it was trying to do rocket science on figuring out how to get it the right way. Everybody got their touches in the tight end room, from Troy Nicholas to Ben Koyak to, you just go down the list. Alize Mack, as in and out as he's been, got enough to get called on to the next level. So it's pretty crazy to see just how we look for so many answers, but the answers are really in that tight end room, and just how they've even taken on different coaches through the years, and it hasn't lacked
Yeah.
in
Hasn't
production, which
changed.
is crazy. Hasn't
Yeah, it hasn't
changed.
changed. To be honest, the tight end room now has been under Jared Jared Parker's tutelage, right? And he's definitely recruited well. So the trend goes on. And I lend it to this, Left. In order to get on the field as a wide receiver and tight end at Notre Dame, you're not getting on the field unless you can block. You're not. Unless,
That's it.
unless you're Michael Floyd, Will Fuller, or somebody like that.
Or Eifert or
Uh,
some
uh,
shit.
yeah. But you have to block. Cooper Flanagan is playing because he can block. I think he graded as the second best blocking tight end
That's how
as a
you start.
freshman from
That's how
Saturday's
you
game.
start.
That's how
Jack
you
Larson,
get
when
your
he comes
reps.
in, he's gonna know how to block early.
Yes. It's almost like the Jimmy Butler effect when he was here in Chicago. Jimmy got his reps because he could defend. That's how he got on the floor. And then when Luau Dang moved on, his offensive game flourished.
Yeah,
It
because he
do.
became a bigger option, you know.
And now Holden Stace, Cooper Flanagan, Eli Raridan, and the rest of this tight end room, now they have the opportunity to become passing options. It wasn't like they couldn't be passing options. Mitchell Evans was the number one passing option in the room. Now you
And it's
get to
funny
see.
because Mitchell Evans missed the first 2 games and came back and became a target. He wasn't like he came out to start the season as the main target. He was jumped into the lineup and became a
Mhm.
main target. So we were expecting the production to come from one of the receivers, considering Sam got 6 receivers with 1,000 yards.
So, speedy recovery to Mitchell Evans. But what do we say about great teams last night?
They find ways to win.
Great teams have questions and they find answers. The best player in college football was just lost to Georgia. They found answers.
They found answers.
Now it's up to Marcus Freeman and the rest of that offensive staff to find answers in
And it's
losing.
and I'm glad not that he got hurt, but I'm glad at the fact that we would have to force ourselves to find answers on the team of people that we wanted more from anyway. Obviously our offense has been led by the tight end for the last 5 or 6 years. Now that the tight end can't be the prominent figure,
Yeah.
considering we would think that we had better skill positions at this moment in time, that the tight end will be more of a support role than ever a leading factor, which is good because now the receivers have to do it.
Yeah.
It's not like option B. It's like, no, you guys are option A from a
Yeah.
production side outside of the running backs. And the tight ends are still going to be involved, but I don't think Sam is going to trust the tight ends at this moment to be their number one target.
No.
I
I'm
think
not sure.
he'll
I'm
try
not
to find
sure.
Chris Tyree more. If anything,
Yes.
if you're being smart,
Yes.
you're finding Chris Tyree, your Jordan
Yes.
Faison, and then if we get a healthy Dion, work some of that. Work some of that.
Marcus Freeman definitely put in his bid for Chris Tyree to return for a fifth year in the press conference this year. He said he feels like he's just scratching the surface on his transition to wide receiver and feels like he could be very good next year.
Yeah. What do you say? He can be very utilized if he comes back.
Right. You letting it
He's,
be known.
we can grow this now. You ain't got to run off too fast.
So he talked about going to another level. What does that next step look like, Marcus Freeman?
Our preparation. And that's my challenge to them is on a Monday is that we have to believe it's the way we prepare that gives us the opportunity to have the outcome that we had on Saturday. And so my challenge to myself is to figure out, okay, what are we doing in preparation and where can we enhance? And then I'm going to challenge every individual, every coach, every player to raise the level even more this week because we know Clemson's going to have a great week of preparation, and we got to exceed that. We got to challenge ourselves to practice better on a Monday through Friday than our opponent, and that's going to be challenging to do. But I do believe in my heart that we have another level in the preparation that will give us a chance to have success on Saturday. And the message to the guys today in the team meeting will be is I don't think we're playing better because we're doing more. I think we're playing better because our kids are playing with more velocity because they know what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it. And that's the belief that I have as the head coach, and they all have to believe it themselves, right, is that I would rather do a few things at level 10 than a lot of things at level 7. Right? That's the message I'm going to give to them. Like, we have to do the things we're asking our players to do at the highest level. And then once they master those things we're asking them to do, then they've earned the right to do more. But as you go back a few weeks ago, it was, hey, let's simplify. Let's simplify what we're doing so our guys can play fast. And I think that's what you're seeing on Saturdays.
I don't think um, we're discovering or recreating the will to know that simple is better, right? I'm watching. You correct me if this is not me. I'm watching Bears post game last night left with Alex Brown and Lance Briggs, and Lance Briggs is like, "Look, man, everybody thinks football is like this super complex thing." He's like, "Man, it's like five coverages on defense, five." And he was like, "Dude, I go back to the days where we didn't have these touch screens. We literally had to wait for the printer to print out the plays so we could go through them on the sideline." So he was like, "We didn't have instant adjustments." He was like, "But dude, football is like five coverages and you know your gap. And wherever the play was successful at, whatever gap it was successful in, that's where the mistake was on the defense in that gap. Like you don't have to put together this long equation to figure out what's wrong." And he's right. It might be difficult for us to understand it as fans, some of us, but the game really is simple. It it really is. And um, Al Golden has admitted, I tried to bring my NFL style to these kids, and it was too much.
Yeah, it's just it's too much because you don't have as much time,
Yeah.
and also it's too much because you know when you start being detailed. I don't like the whole simple wins thing. Yeah, simple is good, but you have to define simple in the context. I like to go more detailed, oriented into simple things, which can, for people that don't follow, it can be complex. Because defensively, there's adjustments and there's different ways you play it that week. There's different things that you have to take into consideration for who you're going against. Yeah, if this was just base everything,
Hmm.
you do your stuff, the other team do their stuff, and who wins. But football's too complicated with some of these schemes that you got to have something to adjust because these offenses are going to take advantage of these theory concepts on defense when you say there's only five. Well, there's 5 million ways to beat it. And teams have gotten really good now at saying, okay, you have to do this because this is a base coverage and we're going to attack it this way. So now defenses has basically melded all of those defenses together.
Hmm.
So something that may look like a cover three, it has cover three principles, but it's really covered four or something, or it covers six. And so now everything is a match coverage. So everything that's zone turns into
Yeah.
man, man turns into zone concepts. So everything's melded together, which makes defense harder now.
Hmm.
But also it messes up the offense a little bit because offenses have went through stages. We had the RPO phase,
Yeah.
and defenses at first was getting caught off guard and it was looking crazy. Nick Foles era for the Eagles, but after that, teams adjusted, and now it's a little harder to be too RPO stricken because you look at a team like Georgia Tech and Nebraska with Jeff Sims doing the RPO stuff, it's just not as successful the next year. So strategies change, but being detailed is what matters. And the NFL stuff is a very detailed thing. It's like, yeah, it's covered too, but
Absolutely. Man.
that stuff is like you need to spend time for real, or because football happens too fast. So yeah, it's not going to work initially. Now, obviously, the first year is going to be harder than the second year. So I think Al Golden has sprinkled some of that stuff in the second year because guys are getting it. But yeah, first year install in general, no matter how much you want to get in, is very little you can that they'll get, and then the next year you build on that.
Yeah. I totally agree, Left. And I'll say this. Like I understood what Lance Briggs was saying, but I also understood that Lance Briggs is speaking from a standpoint of we had them dogs. See, like when you got them dogs,
You
you
don't
don't
have
have
to
to
do
play a bunch.
much
Man, Tampa Bay and the Bears can play cover 2 every down.
every down.
Ev- Cover 2 every down. Maybe with cover 3, cover 4 thrown in every now and then.
Hell, relating it to college, Ohio State when they had Chase Young and all them, they played one coverage,
Mm-hmm.
quarters. And you know, some defensive coordinators, you know, especially doing the CBS stuff, talking to these guys, you have some coaches that are like, look, we're a cover 3 team, and we're so good at it that we know what you're trying to do and we can adjust to it.
Mm-hmm.
We you know, we're not going to be complicated. And then there's other defenses like Western Kentucky that, okay, this is the style they're going with, this is how we attacking it. And it might look totally different the next week because of the opponent, and you got to be on the fly adjustable. Miami's defense with Coach Martin, they're cover 3, I don't care who you're playing. They won high safety. And if you hit us with some stuff, okay, but you're not going to get us all game.
Heck, Al Golden knows what he has at corner, and he's coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's when he got good corners, he's like, oh, let's turn up.
Yo, I talked to somebody from Clemson early today. They were like, "Man, what do you think is going to happen?" Da, da, da. I'm like, Al Golden's going to blitz Cade Klubnik all day,
That's it.
all day, because your
That's
wide receivers can't beat his defensive backs. So Cade Klubnik expects him to be on the run, especially without Will Shipley, all day long, just all day. He's bringing it, and
it's available too. Cade is
yeah,
gonna have to have a DJ Uungagale game back in what 2018.
2020, 2020, yeah.
Yeah, 220. Yeah, 2000. He gonna have to have one of them games, best career game, because it's not gonna be another way. We're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna let you run it. We're not gonna let you nickel and dime us, because we're gonna be coming. And from Al Golden's track record, him holding QBs better than him for probably their worst averages on the year, it's not looking good from a historical track for Cade. He might throw full. I mean, it started actually with Cade in that Clemson game, and
Yeah.
us getting 4 or 5 picks off of him, and starting Ben Morrison's career and all. And the defenses with good quarterbacks just continue to get worse and worse. You know.
Our fan Brian Dembo, thanks for tapping in, man. He says, Malik, can we find your games online? I believe, are they on Paramount loaded up afterwards or YouTube?
I believe so. CBS has a sports network that they're trying to stream with, so I'm kind of trying to understand.
Yeah, try Paramount. I know CBS Sports does have a YouTube page, and I don't know if they do the full games, but I do know they do extended highlights
Yeah, that's right. You'll
of the
catch some good stuff from us, man. I appreciate y'all trying to find out where it's at.
And like I said, it was definitely Left's best game. You can see the improvement. It was his best game. He probably was comfortable because it was Coach Martin. He was back in
I had a little
Ohio.
bit more inner knowledge on it, and I was a little more excited to call it. And I'm glad that you noticed it a little bit better, man. Honestly, because it's an interesting thing interesting climb in terms
Yeah.
of finding ways to get better doing that. Like I've been
Hey,
watching
man.
Tony Romo, and I think he's getting a little bit better.
Yeah. Because he came in a little bit over the top with the whole predict the play thing, and that was his thing. And now he's just more nuts and bolts as an analyst, and you can tell overall he's becoming better.
Yeah, they asked him to study a little bit more. That's what happened. They was like, hey, you made a splash with the whole predicting thing, but we need you to get into the, more Chris Collinsworth, deeper dive into it.
Don't say Chris Collinsworth today. His name is Mud in Chicago. Chris Collinsworth, he was terrible last night, bro.
You thought so?
He did way too much trying to promote Tyson Bagent, dude. Way too much.
You didn't like how he was bumping up Tyson.
At one time, the man said, that Justin Fields needs to learn when nothing's there.
Yeah. That's so funny.
He needs to throw the ball away. And what happened the very next play? Tyson Bagent threw an
Threw a pick.
interception. And I'm
Yep.
like, come on,
And
man.
that's so funny you said that because he did a play, and I don't know why he thought this was good to say, but he was like, yeah, maybe Justin Fields can learn something
Can
and
learn
he can
something from
apply that
Tyson.
to his game. I'm like, first of all, Tyson Baguette is the undrafted backup, like no herald success in college and on no big level. Why are you comparing the two? Justin Fields don't need to learn nothing from no backup. What are you talking about?
It was really bad. And um, several people I've talked to said that he was really regurgitating what the Bears coaches wanted him to say on air. Which, if that's the case, that's pretty sad.
Wait, the Bears coaches were trying to get him to relate things that Tyson does well as a message to Justin. Yeah, that's no wonder why Justin had the do-rag and the shades on. He's done with y'all. He's done with
Man,
y'all.
go look
He's
at the
done.
game. Second half, Mooney and DJ Moore kept walking over to Justin saying stuff. DJ
Like
Moore had
Jameis Winston and Alvin Kamara.
DJ Moore had like one target in the second half. One.
And he was making plays when he got the ball called to him.
Hey man, look. You know, we talked about this quarterback thing earlier today. We'll say that for a whole nother show. Lucky Lefty podcast, Marcus Freeman. Yeah, the Clemson Tigers coming up, Death Valley. Early start, noon kickoff. Notre Dame instilled as I think a 1.5 favorite, which is very weird. We'll talk about that. But this is Marcus Freeman talking about Clemson.
Understand the challenge. We have to understand the challenge that it's going to be to go down there. They've had a very unique season. You know, as you look at the record versus what the film shows and really what the games tell you as you watch them. You know, those 4 losses, 2 of them were in overtime where they were leading the fourth quarter. One of them, the first game of the year versus Duke, you know, the turnovers in the red zone, just a unique situation. And I don't know if I've ever seen a game like that. And then last week, they really, you know, the stats, if you just read the stats, would tell you they probably should have won that game. And, you know, I think probably the turnovers, you know, ended up costing them that game. But this is a talented football team. And, we understand the challenge that it will present on Saturday down at Clemson. And so we got to continue to go back to work, prepare, and make sure we're ready to go on Saturday. So.
It feels as though he's trying to find a way to speak good about them. And it's like he almost feels bad. He's like, man, now you look at this. I mean, they should have won. They didn't win, though. First game, they always call it an anomaly. They had a lot of good stats. They just didn't win. But I think Marcus Freeman's trying to find the silver lining in a game where he probably feels as though they need to have the repeat success of when Clemson came to them last year in a 37-7 attempt. And I think that's why he mentioned how well the overall success of the 3 phases of football played last week for us, and how that was good to see because all 3 phases against Clemson last year were a major part of the victory, especially special teams. Adding special team touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, it spells a good sign for this week, considering that special teams made huge plays last year that gave us the momentum and I think took the heart out of Clemson early, and had Kate Klubnik playing a little bit more frantic, just because even when they were punting it to us, we was doing well. We was blocking the punt, and we had some good returns. And so they're probably watching last week film like, we can't let Chris Tyree go crazy on special teams. You got to get Chris Tyree on the ground because he done made 5-6 people miss and gave them a spark that they needed.
Left, let me tell you something. Marcus Freeman is a very nice man. He knows what it is. He watches the film. He knows that 60% of Clemson's offense, more than likely because the injury, won't be on the field. He knows that.
He knows that Al Golden is kicking butt right now. So if anything, I'll be talking a little feisty when it comes to just having a high regard for what we've been able to do defensively against, in my opinion, better quarterbacks.
Now, see, this is the thing. Clemson's receivers are mid, right? Because that's been the excuse.
Louisville's receivers were mid, though.
No, Louisville has some NFL receivers, dude. They have at least two. Clemson's best receiver is a freshman. Is a freshman.
Bo Collins is nice.
This is the problem. And look, if you want to say Clemson has on paper has a talented team, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Go watch Clemson's football games. They struggle offensively because their quarterback is a bad decision maker. We say this every week. I don't care how talented Cade Klubnik is. Every week, he makes bad decisions that put Clemson in bad situations. The situation that Marcus Freeman talked about against Duke, being careless with the ball, Cade Klubnik, on 2 occasions against Duke, cost them points in the red zone. He's going to make bad decisions this Saturday. That's who he is. He made bad decisions against Louisville. It's who he is. Will he mature out of that? Probably so. But he is a bad decision-making quarterback who leaned on Will Shipley, who was 60% of their offense. He won't be there Saturday.
He won't be there.
So who else does he lean on? Because Will Shipley was passing game, run game, special teams, all of that is gone. Will Maffa is not Will Shipley. The offensive line is not good. They're not good. North Carolina State dominated their offensive line. Dominated their offensive line. And the wide receivers couldn't get open. So on paper, yeah, there's talent on this Clemson team. Yeah. But they've consistently struggled to get off man-to-man coverage against everybody. They've consistently turned the ball over in the red zone. Their quarterback has consistently made mistakes. And their defense still gives up the run game if you stick with it and you're physical enough, like Notre Dame did last year. They stuck with the run game and wore them down. That's it. That's it. So
That's it.
I don't know. You play football, and on any given Saturday, if you don't play your game, you can lose. But no one should be. This is not a Clemson game where I'm going into the game scared because Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback.
Right.
This is not that Clemson. Not for me. I'm worried about Notre Dame. I'm not worried about Clemson. Clemson is 4-4. I'm worried about Notre Dame and how they're going to play on the road early. That's my concern. And the offensive line come out and set the tone and not make mistakes, commit penalties. Can we not drop passes? And can we not throw interceptions in the red zone, Sam Hart? That's it. That's all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about Clemson. This is not Clemson of 2-3 years ago. They're not.
Especially not defensively.
And they're young, right? 2 of their best defensive players are freshmen. They're young, right? They have some really good defensive backs. Wiggins likes to play man-to-man. But Notre Dame's offense is not based upon our wide receivers.
If we go out there and play like we want to win, I don't think they can hang with us. But if
No,
we
they
go
can't
out
hang
there
through.
and give them
They couldn't physically hang with us last year with a better team. They couldn't. So this is exactly what Marcus Freeman talked about, Left. Like, this is about us, our preparation, us taking that next step to the next level. The next level is not, oh, we beat Clemson. No. Handle success. Practice better this week than you did last week because we're Notre Dame. Not because we're playing Clemson, because we're Notre Dame. And this is what we do. This is what we do. We get better. And we go out and we dominate.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to over excite yourself over this because this is a part of what we are building and want to be consistent with. We want to be consistent with putting up these kind of point totals, and we want to make it as casual as we can because we know that we recruit well enough that most of these games should look like that. The games that we are struggling with, and it's also a frustrating thing to have such a wide point margin against teams we know we can win, and then have such a low point total when we're going against teams that matter on our schedule in terms of playoff success.
We go to Marcus Freeman, one of the best topics. You'll enjoy this, Left. I believe it was Mr. Hansen who asked Marcus Freeman about the defense and Al Golden, and then the conversation led to a conversation we had a couple of weeks back. Mike Mickens as the defensive coordinator. I think you'll enjoy this. Marcus Freeman first on Al Golden and what he's brought to the table.
You know, the work he puts into it, the game plan, the ability to convey his message, to get what he wants from his players has been great. You know, what you see is on Saturdays is a reflection of what our players know. Right? We can spend endless amount of time coming up with game plans, but at the end of the day, it's what they can do. Right? It's what they understand and then they can do and go perform. And it is credit to Coach Golden and our defensive staff on the performance of our defense this whole season.
And Coach Freeman is exactly right. This staff has done an incredible job. They recognize that they have, and we said this, they have two dogs at defensive tackle, and they got dogs on the back end. And Xavier Watts has pretty much invited himself to the party and said, "Yo, I'm the next dog on this back end with two more interceptions against Pitt." So when the dogs on the back end, who's recruiting them, who's developing them, and is it possible that he could be a defensive coordinator? Coach Freeman
Is ready to be a defense coordinator. That's why we gave him the passing game coordinator title during the offseason. And he is a tremendous football coach, schematically and in the fundamentals of playing the cornerback position. You know, one of the greatest things he does is the way he evaluates. You know, I've said this story before, but at Cincinnati, I wasn't standing on the table for Sauce Gardner when we started recruiting him, and Mickens did. Mickens said, "This is the guy that we need here," and we knew right away that when he got to campus, man, he was special. And the same thing goes for the guys in this room now. He's a great evaluator, and then he's a great developer of the cornerback position. But as far as the schematics, he has a brilliant mind. They're all in that defensive room collaborative on the game plan. But I firmly believe Mike Mickens is ready to be a defense coordinator.
That's great lobbying.
I love Marcus Freeman Left because he's always looking forward. You can tell there's a reason why he gave passing game coordinator responsibilities to Mike Mickens. He understood that he needed to add more tools so at the right time the elevation can come. I'll say this. for whatever reason, whether it's Al Golden leaving or whatever reason that Mike Mickens is a candidate for defensive coordinator, I fully support it. I back this message if it is indeed used as a commercial for his candidacy. You know what I'm
Yeah, that's
saying?
what I was saying.
I
You
approve of
definitely,
this message. And I love the fact that from recruiting to development, more responsibility is preparing you for your next step, whether it's at Notre Dame or it's somewhere else. And you have to love it. You absolutely have to love it. And if this happens, he might instantly become the best recruiting defensive coordinator at Notre Dame in the last decade.
easily, easily. But we've had great defensive recruiters, just not as a defensive coordinator. And I think it would be very nice for a Mike Mickens fit in this type of situation because of the fact that he has all the things needed to put yourself in a position where guys will play for you, similar to Marcus Freeman's build, as well as the development factor to keep guys. So not only can you recruit guys, not only can you show them your recruiting success with current
Hmm.
guys like a Sauce Gardner, but then you can also develop them each specifically. I mean, a Jaden Mickey is different than a Ben Morrison, different than a Cam Hart. But to get all of them to play on the same accord and to have at least one of them be an All-American and all the things that are he's accomplishing, Mike Mickens has definitely set himself up to be a nice that you would appreciate being in-house.
Hmm.
Not a guy that you didn't even know was on the list at all. And then you turn around and get surprised that he was on the hiring list. I think Mike Mickens would be the in-house hire that if it was to go down like that, every
Left's on the road. Might have gone into an area where the signal dropped on him. But like he was saying, not to compare, but the response from Notre Dame fans to the elevation of Mike Mickens in comparison to the elevation of Jared Parker would probably uh, garner a totally different response, from the fan
absolutely, I
base.
think the response would be tremendous, similar to how Marcus Freeman's response when he got hired as head coach. I think the team will respond similarly with Mike Mickens, who has been working real quietly in the background, but having a lot of success and results on the field, similar to how Brian Mason was able to do on special teams, and it led him to a lot of success after the season. So I do think, in the absence of an Al Golden potentially going back to the league, it would make the smartest move to elevate a guy he's been with since Cincinnati to be in that position to run the defense, where I think he would have a lot more success because he knows who he's coaching. Al Golden had to adjust to who he had because he's coming from NFL, Super Bowl, all of that. Mike Mickens knows who's there because he's brought him there. And so he would know what truly fits him, and then to be able to develop them and hire guys that are similar to him and this, that, and the third. So it would be the smartest move to make, and I think it would be even more advantageous for us to keep him because I know he's going to get a lot of attention after this year, especially when
Absolutely.
especially when Ben Morrison goes to the league. That'd be 2 first-round picks at the corner position. He's responsible for that, and so it'll be interesting to see how that goes down.
And it looks like Christian Gray will be another one on that path. Jaden Mickey has gotten much better. And I will say this, Chris O'Leary, who I've been critical of in the class of 23 and 24, the way he's starting off the 25 class from a safety position if he can continue that trend and start to connect with what Mike Mickens is doing at the defensive back situation, woo, man, we can start to see a Notre Dame defense that is becoming problematic on an annual basis.
That's right. It's
And it's
similar to
crazy
the success
because,
of the tight ends. It's just a repetitive thing. Like it's
yes,
more of a constant than it is a variable to where the variables affect or have affected our other positions. Like we thought it was Dell Alexander, but then we thought it thinking it's Chauncey, and then but with the tight ends, it doesn't matter who's coaching them.
no,
And defensively, it's almost at the point, after the Brian Van Gorder experience, we've had a pretty constant defensive stout, even with the end years of Kelly, with Elko and Long, and defense have been solid. Maybe secondary has gotten stronger under Marcus Freeman, but that just shows that the defense is still evolving to be better than what I thought we were pretty good with the other guys too.
it is. Well, I feel like something is starting to be formed at Notre Dame. Maybe an identity. Maybe Marcus Freeman is figuring out, okay, I can't get the cream of the crop big boys out of the South. Heck, we couldn't even get the best big dude 70 miles to the east or to the west, shall I say, in this recruiting cycle. But what I can do is I can go get long athletic guys that can rush the passer, get them in droves with really good linebackers and lock down defensive backs and just come after you and play fast, as he said in the press conference, and force you into mistakes. And then we'll figure out how to be able to stop the run game by developing our interior guys, right? Because you can't sit there like Georgia and Alabama and just say, oh man, we can just pick 320 pounders off the street every year that are
Yeah,
really fast, big, and elite.
yeah,
It
just really
seems like,
fast, big hole pluggers. We just
yeah, but like I sent you the Shanklin kid from Warren Central in Indianapolis that they seem to have uh, grown with, getting on him late. And I sent you the film to break it down. The first thing you said to me is, man, I like the kid, but man, can we recruit some big dudes on the inside? We get
yeah,
a
we
bunch of
never
red
recruit
pass
inside.
rushers.
Yeah, interior guys are not our target since Sheldon and Big Lou.
Mm,
Because Jerry was considered a two-way O lineman, defensive guy, but
hmm
we haven't had just a strict Lewis Nix or a straight Sheldon come in a long time. Because everybody's a hybrid. Like even Isaac Rochelle was a hybrid
He was. He played
interior.
outside a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
like,
which
who's been
helped
on?
him when going to the next level.
I mean, that's why he's still serviceable. He can,
Yeah,
and he's got the size. So,
yeah.
Kurt Heinrich was an inside outside player, so maybe that's maybe it's too hybridized. I think defensive line is still Stone Age. You need the big, strong dudes that lift a lot of weight.
But this is what we hinted at, or you hinted at, and brilliantly, might I say, when you talked about or responded to what I told you Lance Briggs said, is that the NFL game is evolving. Like,
Yeah.
you know, high school went to college. College is going to the NFL, right? Um,
And then because you got these egghead coaches that are getting into these positions where they spend all freaking day trying to distort defenses like the Mike Daniels and the Kyle
mhm.
Shanahans and Matt LaFleur's and all these guys off these legacy coaching trees that have evolved the original stuff that has gotten them so far. And then you get guys like Kyle Shanahan, Kevin Stefanski, I think calls pretty good games for the Browns.
Is it O'Connell? Is that his name?
O'Connell,
O'Connell
Kevin
for with the
O'Connell.
Minnesota. He's really good.
He's caught.
He is really
You
good.
got Cooper Rush out here in L.A. For the Chargers, calling plays. Obviously, Sean McVay, the Wonder Boy, was the one that broke that lever of getting younger, type of creative mind, offensive coaches, and so now you've basically put all the nerds
Yeah,
at all the GA nerds that started from nothing, that spent hours printing off papers and developing game plans for you. All those nerds that spent all them hours are now your offensive coordinators and head coaches. It's basically like a bunch of Eric Spoelstra's guys that started in the mailroom
hmm
and listened and soaked up everything they learned from in the building and are young enough to have the energy to create and be innovative and do all these new things. And now they're your head coaches and OCs. And that has changed the game for these older defensive guys, the Pat Narduzzi's, where, the standard stuff ain't standard. Nick
yeah.
Saban has adjusted defensively as for the most part. But guys like Lane Kiffin and Lincoln Riley and all those guys that are Cliff Kingsbury's that are filtering some of their stuff into the league, it's just getting to a point where defensively you're going to have to stay on that. And that's where Al Golden, being a guy that understands that and understands it well enough to not be the same team on defense every week, which gives us a lot of success and chances to win. Because even in the games that we've lost, they've never been out of reach because defense has been making it hard for them to score regardless. Best offense in the world or the worst. We're the reason USC is looking rough.
Hey, Caleb, did you see Caleb in the post game?
I didn't see the post game.
Yo, somebody asked him after the Cal game, like, yo, how does it feel to get back on track after your recent struggles? And Caleb laughed and he was like, dude, in 2 years, I've had one bad game. He said, Notre Dame got me.
Yeah.
He said, I haven't been turning the ball over. I haven't been throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
He said, Notre Dame got me.
That's right.
He said,
and
they're
he's
really
went to
good.
the wire with Colorado. He's went to the wire with a lot of these teams. So
it was
he didn't
funny
even say
that
Utah.
it was the credit he gave Notre Dame in that response. Like, dude, they got me.
They truly saw him some stuff that it was bigger than I just had a bad throw.
Yeah.
It was like, nah, they got a look on me. Like they really confused me. Utah just hit him. They just out physical and just beat him up.
Bro,
we actually put him in positions where he was
when you lead a drive, bro, when you lead a drive to take the lead with 2 minutes left, and then your defense gives up a 3rd and 18 on a quarterback, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because we get blamed for talking too much Caleb Williams or whatever, but I made it connect to Notre Dame and the love that he showed to Notre Dame. So that's that.
And but it does credit the defense once again that we put complete game plans together and that we're actually trying to take something away. I think what Notre Dame did well versus CJ Stroud was take away the easy stuff early and had him go through his reads and rely on the run game. Caleb Williams, we didn't allow him to spend so much time creating more time in the pocket with a different kind of pressure rush that allowed him to make the mistakes himself finally.
And they pushed him to his left.
That's right.
They treated him like a dominant left-hand player in basketball.
That's right.
Like force him to his right, make him use his right hand. If
and
he's
that's
going
exactly
to escape,
detail.
Yes.
Details come in. This is why simplifying, most teams say that, simplifying, but get cooked by Caleb Williams because it's bigger than a simplified thing. We know that little things like adjusting him and pushing him a certain way or pushing him to the short side of the field causes different decisions for him to make, and he's forced to do different things. Utah did that to him in the championship game last year, pushed him to his left, and he threw that unreasonable pick
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the game. Those are the little things that you focus on during the week, where you have to rely on your guys to know that from a schematic standpoint. Less about the plays. It's less about running the cover two, more about saying, all right, when we send it, rush high and pressure rush to not get out of your lanes where he has to feel uncomfortable enough to not run around you. And those are the things that you got to watch film for, and why you hire guys that are next level elite.
So Notre Dame installed as a 1.5 point favorite on the road. Early kickoff, noon kickoff, Saturday, Death Valley. Left basically means on a neutral field, Vegas would install Notre Dame as about a 4.5, 5 point favorite. Basically, what Vegas is telling you is that they expect the Clemson defense to be able to handle Notre Dame's offense
Right.
at home. That's basically what they're telling you. Like
To the wire.
yeah, Clemson really isn't going to do anything offensively, but their defense should be able to keep them in the game because of Notre Dame's offense. Because Vegas doesn't believe in Notre Dame's offense yet.
Well, they have some right to say that, considering how Jekyll and Hyde we looked in the games where you would have thought it would have been a shootout, or would have thought it been, even in a primetime game, wouldn't have been as close as it was. But the point totals in these primetime games haven't been reflective of how we looked when we played teams that Vegas got us beaten by 5.5 or whatever. So I think they're hedging their bets that, oh, Notre Dame's not going to get us on this 58-7 win against Pitt, because we know what they look like when they play teams that matter, or teams that are hyped up as a game of the week or whatever. So
know this: Vegas loves tricking people. They love using Notre Dame. See, they won big with Ohio State and all the fools that took Ohio State. They won big when people took Duke and Notre Dame covered, right?
Notre Dame gonna cover. That's
Right? They got people on USC early. People are like, oh
early.
my God, they got Notre Dame as a favorite. Bunch of
They
money
got
came in on
USC
USC
early.
early. And Vegas laughed walking away from that one as well.
Vegas be knowing now.
Bruh, it's 1.5. Oh, they are, dude, they are getting people in with that
Come
1.5.
on.
They had to, coming off of that loss to North Carolina State. They were like, we got to make this juicy.
Yeah.
We gotta make the action come. And that 1.5 is just enough to have people biting on Clemson. Just enough. It's just enough.
That 1.5 gonna make people think, you know what? They could use this as motivation to make a turnaround game, you know.
Yeah.
And K Club won't be that bad again. And yeah, all right. Vegas, hey, don't let Vegas get you now.
Man. One question before we switch over. Jason Smith, thank you for tapping in. He says, do you guys think Estime is the best running back in the country?
I think running backs is just hard to say, because everybody uses them in different ways. You know, Bucky Irvin is more of a scat back, but he's productive.
Right.
You know, and some can say if that's what you want for your offense, they would take that over an Aldridge. You know, I don't see Aldridge being the LeGarrette Blunt of Oregon, because Oregon doesn't run like that anymore. You know, they go, LeGarrette Blunt was about Aldridge size, and they go half his size to put at running back. They don't even attempt to bring no big backs in at Oregon. You look at Ohio State, TreVeyon Henderson, the game he had against Wisconsin. You could say he's back on track and being productive and all of that. Hell, the running backs from Penn State, you could just close your eyes and pick one, and they're going to be considered very valuable. Wisconsin's running
the young kid, Allen is hurt.
Braden Allen, he's
Braden
amazing.
Allen is hurt. The kid from Florida State has had some monster games.
Yeah, the dude from the
Some
state
monster games. Jawad, the kid from Louisville.
Kid from Louisville, yeah, he gave us a lot of trouble. So
he's big time. I'll give you another one. The kid from Jake, and we saw this when he was a freshman. The Jaden Ott kid from California. He's special. He is a special running back. A very special running back.
Who is?
Jaden Ott from Cal. We saw him as a freshman coming to Notre Dame Stadium and show the flashes. He's a very good running back. You're on mute, bro. But yeah, he's a very good running back. So, I mean, I would put Aldridge right up there.
Yeah, it just depends on what you want to do offensively, and I think
I'll say this: I would lean towards Aldridge over Travion because I can depend on him to be available. I can't trust Travion Henderson to be healthy. I can't trust Braylon Allen to be healthy.
Yeah, they both.
He's been injured a lot, So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with anyone saying. Somebody earlier we were talking about the trip out. We had to stop in Minnesota left because we were headed to Palm Springs. That was where we were eventually headed.
Oh, okay, yeah, Palm Springs. I got you. Yeah. Man, I don't know how to think of that either.
I don't know, dude. We come back, we jump into the Clemson side. Is it Notre Dame's fault that they're 4-4? We'll talk about it. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We're back, Lucky Lefty Podcast, talking Clemson, Notre Dame, noon kickoff Saturday. Notre Dame, 1.5 favorite. They more than likely, because the concussion protocol, will be without Will Shipley. Mitchell Evans is out for the season with a torn ACL at the tight end position for Notre Dame. So there you have it. And Dabo Swinney and Clemson should be upset after the beating they took at Notre Dame Stadium last year. They got taken out by the woodshed and just got spanked physically by Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So they should have a chip on their shoulder. But when the ball is kicked off, that chip doesn't matter. It's football at the end of the day. Who's going to play the best game? We'll see on Saturday. But because of that left, I want to play something that was very interesting because I believe since they got whooped by Notre Dame, the Clemson football program is sub 500. Sub 500. Not only that, their offense has regressed. They were supposedly getting this genius, as an OC. And if you think Marcus Freeman at the end of the first half against Pitt had some questionable clock management, I encourage everybody to go watch the final Clemson drive and just watch Dabo Swinney butcher 2 minutes. Just watch him butcher 2 minutes as a head coach. I mean, it was absolutely awful. So that's why I really haven't gotten on Marcus Freeman about how conservative he was at the end of that first half against Pitt. Because I saw a veteran coach just butcher the end of the game, and he had 2 minutes on the clock. So this is what, after struggling against Notre Dame and losing in the bowl game, and I think a loss against Duke, this is what Dabo Swinney had to say about Clemson and how their program is built.
I was thinking about it this summer. I was thinking through it, and I mean, for me, we built this program on NIL. We really did, and it's probably different than what you're thinking, though. We built this program in God's name image and likeness. And that's how I look at it. So as things have changed, God has always been, the foundation of what I do. And so, we've been dealing with his name, image, and likeness for a long time. And I think as this new era has come forward, God just continues to bless us here at Clemson.
Wouldn't that mean you're using God's name in vain? Or you're saying that God doesn't approve of NIL because you're not giving out money? I don't
I
understand.
would never question his interpretation of his relationship with God to
But
that
you
point.
using that
I
as a plea also.
understand your point of view on it, but I'm not going to put his faith on trial. I'm not going to put his faith on trial. If he feels like that's the foundation of his football program,
That doesn't answer the question though either.
hey, I'm just saying, look, I find it to be very weird that he would try to use that acronym like that. I thought it was a way for him to avoid
100%.
the NIL question directly because he doesn't believe in it and he doesn't believe in the transfer portal. And he just wants to be this traditional football program that is built on, dude, everybody you talk to says he's a great person.
Yeah, it ain't got nothing to do with you being a non-great person. That's not
God
really
fearing.
asking,
The recruits say that. There are recruits that committed to Notre Dame that will tell you that, and their parents. Look, man, the business of college football is evolving. So you can sit there and hold on.
Well, they say church and state. It's the separation of church and state, NIL and religion.
And that's very uncomfortable. It's comfortable for him, but it's very uncomfortable to put your faith out there because now you make the reporters uncomfortable to challenge you. As a reporter, how do I challenge you when you put your faith out there to kind of cover what's happening? And I have to be really careful and tread lightly about how I approach you questioning NIL transfers, the football program, what's going on, the talent, the roster, the wide receivers. Like,
he's taking the in my opinion the Tim Tebow approach. Where you're throwing that as the reason for the season, as if every game you're being directed by him to throw a pick or not throw a pick, or it doesn't matter because God's on your team if you lose a game or not. But unfortunately for the business side of things, it's church and state. You could love God and still not play well football. Doesn't mean that God is instructing you to play bad, but that's just the same way that both teams pray to win before the game. God can't appease both sides. Somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. And for Dabo Swinney addressing his program, yeah, the foundation of your program is God, but these other programs like God too.
yeah.
You telling me Nick Saban don't like God? You telling me Kirby Smart at Georgia with all the NIL money in the world, him and Jimbo Fisher don't got God in the building?
And that
So
$6 million recruiting budget.
yeah, so that budget ain't God like. I feel like the budget would be great to have God influencing these kids' lives with that $6 million budget. Maybe that is the God version of NIL at Texas A&M. So I think it pits people against the idea and starts to formulate this. At least we don't say it. We call it good stewardship. We call our version of NIL good stewardship, which is very broad, but also, smart. It's clever.
Yeah.
Good stewardship for who? God? Yeah, we know it's about God, but we're not going to say God's the reason. We're going to say our values and good stewardship is where our NIL lies, which I think is very much more of an honest way of saying God, image, and likeness. The GIL now. But for Clemson, it's just a matter of, okay, yeah, but God also wants you to win, I'm assuming. You know, God don't want you out here just putting everything on him and then you lose and then they cut you loose. Then what's going to happen, you know? So I think it's a very interesting ploy to throw out there to distract from the question that was asked. If this was just an open press conference where he's just introducing himself and his God and all that, okay, cool. But when we're asking about a issue that can help your football team, you know, that's an easy Tim Tebow strategy to distract from what's the real problem.
And see, this is the one thing that I find very interesting about that, which, in my opinion, makes it uncomfortable for those that have to cover Dabo Swinney. That's great that that's your faith. And that's the foundation of how you built the program, how you connect with kids, how you connect with your coaches, how you stay in integrity in the program. That's fine and great. But I guarantee you, you would take a 5-star defensive tackle if he didn't believe in God. Don't sit here and tell me that you would turn away. Because see, I'm sure everybody that came through the Clemson program does not share the same values
But you know what he's going
with
to use it
Dabo
as?
Swinney.
God loves all people.
And
Then,
that's
then,
fine.
then it turns in. Then it turns into, you know, God accepts everybody, and you know, He wouldn't want me to turn away somebody who just doesn't know. But it's a easy. That's what I'm saying. It's an easy way to form God as a reason why you're
It's
not
it's
having the
it's that
success in your
he
program.
was trying to be cute, but he's playing a dangerous game
It's a dangerous game.
doing that. And I promise you, I'm not disrespecting his faith. I've never disrespected his faith. I've always said, yo, that's a good coach, great dude. I respect the way he does things. But bro, from a business side, if I am one of the regents at Clemson, we're 4-4, bro. You can talk all that faith stuff. We are Clemson. We are 4-4, and we continue to get worse. So I hear what your principles are, but from a business standpoint, we need to have a conversation about this football program because you're starting to affect the revenue, fam.
Because I mean, he could do that when you got Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. You can guard it up. Because it's the nice icing on the cake. Because we guiding it up and we winning. But you got generational quarterbacks doing it.
See,
That's
and
also
also that generational quarterback comes from a family. That's Trevor Lawrence's family. He fits those principles. He was the pinnacle
perfect fit. He was the
of a
perfect
Clemson
fit.
quarterback.
That's right. And he was good.
Southern boy, beautiful hair, like the ladies love him. Great
Dabo struck
teammate.
lightning for sure.
He struck lightning. The Clemson program struck lightning with Trevor Lawrence.
From a program fit, absolutely.
Everything. But after that,
He got too focused on the fit and not on the what it takes.
look, man, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And this had me even more concerned, Left. This is Dabo after Saturday's loss.
You sugarcoat that thing. The turnovers, our red zone calls. Let's face it, we had a good run, but we're back to just straight up Clemsoning.
Now, what does that mean? Straight up Clemson.
He also went on to say something about they have to let a few people off the bandwagon, Left. The bandwagon had gotten a little bit too full. I don't know what that meant. It sounds like you smelling yourself a little bit. The bandwagon got a little bit too full. You're Clemson, fam. Wait a minute, hold on. As a football program, I respect Clemson. But Clemson is not one of the top 5 football programs as far as brand. Left? Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Did Clemson ever become bigger than Notre Dame, Michigan, USC, Alabama, USC? Oklahoma, Texas? What's this bandwagon? Like, my man, you're really smelling yourself. You're smelling yourself. You're right. You guys had a really good run. You had a really good run. And you know who started that demise for you? Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. When you walked in thinking you were a college football playoff team, and Notre Dame showed you, nope. With Drew Pine at quarterback, Marcus Freeman and Tommy Reed showed you, along with Al Golden, you're not that same Clemson. You're not. Sorry. And Dabo, post game, hasn't been the same. And the Clemson program hasn't been the same since that night. So we're sorry that we started this little slide. Now, you know, we can joke. I can joke because I don't have to take the field on Saturday. Notre Dame has to go play their game and come away with a victory. But as I said before, you want to see a program and a coach, man, regressing, go watch the final 2 minutes of North Carolina State Clemson. And if you want to talk about, at least Marcus Freeman was playing the clock to get points and missed out on the opportunity to get a touchdown. He had the lead, was in control of the game, and was just being a little bit too conservative. Two minutes timeout in college football is plenty of time. And a veteran coach butchered the time. Time management was awful. And panicked. Panicked because he didn't let Garrett Riley call the last drive. He stuck his nose in it. And I don't think they even, I think the closest they got, I think they got to the North Carolina State 40-yard line. If I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit closer. It is really sad what that Clemson program has become. It really is. And we wanted to play those clips because as someone that covers Notre Dame, especially, man, listening to Dabo and coming off of Brian Kelly, I am extremely grateful to have a head coach that we can say is too honest. He's too honest.
Marcus Freeman would never say no stuff like that to Dabo.
But like he's too honest. Like, okay. Like, yo, we don't have to ask the question if Notre Dame is going to take a transfer quarterback. The head coach, he's telling you. Like, yo, we're discussing that during the bye week, upcoming bye week. More news to come.
Before y'all even start to speculate, yes, we are having conversations right now.
Yes,
to improve this team and where we gonna go. He provides more. It wouldn't call it dry snitching. He's just giving an updated uh, uh,
Man,
of what he's thinking. And sometimes we would want him to be a little more reserved because I think it can open the door for people to nitpick at him. But he's accepted it and been almost too honest, like we talked about.
I expect Dabo Swinney to use every trick in the book this week as a veteran head coach. I expect him to use the victim, woe is me. I expect him to tell his players no one believes in us. No one thinks we have a chance against Notre Dame. They're favored by 1 point, my brother. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can use all of that. Go ahead. If I don't know if that's going to improve Cade Klubnik's decision making, but go ahead and tell him whatever you need to tell him. Tell him.
That's right.
At the end of the day, like you said, your team is your team. They're 4-4, and you guys have gone back to Clemson. Whatever that means.
Taj Boyd days, maybe before that.
I hope he's not trying to attach Clemson to Taj Boyd, because Taj Boyd is the foundation of that program.
He's the base layer for sure.
He's the reason you got SHAUN.
That's right.
And SHAUN is the reason you got Trevor, to keep it a buck. So that kind of bothers me, man. You know what? I'm gonna pray for my brother. That's what I'm gonna do for him, Left. I'm gonna pray for him because he seems a little troubled right now.
You gonna match his faith?
No, instead of instead of going the other direction that I could go, criticism, and I'm gonna go ahead and pray for him because it seems like, you know what it looks like? He's been able to hold off the administration with what he believes.
That's right.
In the face of evolution and change in college football. And at some point, he's going to have to make a decision because the administration might tell him, look, we hear all that, but these jerseys are not selling the same way. These Cade Klubnik jerseys don't sell like Trevor's.
Or Deshaun's.
That
was a hot ticket item.
We need to change that. People are not coming to the games. We need to change that.
They said maybe you need to pray a little harder, Dabo. maybe
like you said, see, this is the difference. You said it's a very similar belief, Malik. You put it perfectly.
What do you want?
Notre Dame is similar, but at least Notre Dame will put it out front and tell you it's about the money.
Oh yeah, it's about that.
It's about the money. It's not just about faith. It's about this money too. It's about good stewardship.
Yeah,
that's keeping a buck.
Yeah. That's right. That's good stewardship. That's AKA religious money. That's you know, it's faith money. That's good stewardship. It's faith money.
Like you said, Nick Saban is a believer.
Yeah, Nick Saban
is a believer. But Nick Saban stood up in front of the people and said, hey, Alabama boosters, we need some more of this money for this NIL.
That's right.
He didn't say, hey, he's a man of faith too.
He's a man of faith.
But he stood at that podium and he said, we need some more money for this NIL.
And when it drops in the account, thank the Lord.
There it is.
The Lord done got us again. Thank the Lord. Them boosters and them was filled with the Spirit.
So I
filled them pockets up.
As much as we talked about the stewardship thing at Notre Dame, hey, at least Notre Dame is like Marcus Freeman. They keep it 100. In the face of change and evolution, Notre Dame is standing on good stewardship. Like, we'll spend money, but it's going to be the right way. Because that's who we are. We're the good stewards of college football. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. But one of the keys as we get ready to go is the mentality. The rest of this season is a mentality challenge for Notre Dame.
That's right.
It's not about the schedule. This team has been tested, and this team could have let go of the rope. This team could have gone the other way, but they didn't, and they haven't. And this is just another test on the road. Stanford on the road would be another test. Notre Dame should be able to run the table the rest of the season. It's as simple as that.
By far.
Yeah. And they should be able, the latest mock in the bowl games I saw, they came out 12th in the poll left. We'll see tomorrow night where they land in the first CFP poll. I think they're going to be top 10 because of their schedule.
Right.
But they are slated right now to play Texas.
Oh, good old
And
Texas. That'd be nice.
Notre Dame would kill Texas. First of all, let me tell you this. Let me slow up, because when I say kill, that's my fandom. Notre Dame can run the ball on Texas. Texas defensive backfield is very questionable. Very questionable, dealing with injuries. I would be more worried about, me personally, Malik Murphy than Quinn Ewers. I would much rather face Quinn Ewers than Malik Murphy.
Against our defense, yeah.
Yes, against our defense. Because our defense, Al Golden is coming. He's coming. Right? And I know we had a defensive back.
Well, I mean, the way we did Caleb Williams, I'm not worried about Malik Murphy either.
Yeah, but see, my point is Malik Murphy can hurt you with the legs.
Right. And
he can.
But Al Golden, in his defense, he's been putting the lid on all that.
Yeah.
Or at least made it defense has been the reason in these big games that we've needed help.
And Texas running game, although effective in the Big 12, they're okay. But given Sark a month to prepare, you got to respect that. That's tough. To give Steve Sarkisian a month to prepare for your defense, it would be a heck of a challenge for Al Golden. A heck of a challenge. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Thank you, everybody that joined us today. We appreciate you. Don't forget, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, notification bell, leave your comments. We respond to all. We greatly appreciate you. It is the Lucky Lefty Podcast, audio edibles available each and every day. Apple Podcast, Spotify. We spin it different, man. That's what we do. Don't forget, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, Notre Dame great Corey Minor joins us on the show. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, Petty Story today brought to you by ONORA Whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey, ONORAWhiskey.com. Petty Junction. I don't know if you've seen this video floating around. Joe Smith's wife, former #1 overall pick NBA basketball player Joe Smith, now retired, living out there in California. His wife recorded him ranting about finding out that she has a OnlyFans page. And I'm not about to get into that argument left because that's a married couple. I ain't about to do all that. I think she was mad petty for recording the conversation because she was using him to promote her page. That's what she was doing ultimately. She
That's
was
what it
using
was.
she was using him to promote the page. All right, fine. I don't like that. That's a conversation between husband and wife. Keep that private. When you put that type of stuff out on social
Right,
media,
right.
like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I think because I don't care about people having a conversation about what she used to do and does it matter. No, dude, they chose to be together. That's it. That's their conversation.
Jada be killing me, man. I don't know why she does it.
I don't have anything to say about that, Left, but I do have a problem with the fact that she recorded their conversation. That's a marital conversation, and put it out to the masses. I mean, it was for promotion purposes for the page,
Well,
but
at what risk though? At what
at what risk?
what
Exactly.
cost? You just
Exactly.
that's just he was gotta have a vendetta versus a man to do that or something.
Mace and Cameron go on the page. The conversation they had about Dwight Howard on their latest show is one thing. I encourage everybody to listen beyond that because the conversation went to their experience when they were coming up in the rap game. Basically, when Mace went from Murder Mace to Mace a Bad Boy, and Cam was his boy that hadn't broke yet, but he was with Mace, going to him to parties, taking trips with him. Mace introduced Cameron on, I believe it was the BET hip hop show that used to come on in the afternoon. They just had the documentary. I'm bugging today. But
the freestyle show, the
basement. The basement. Like they were interviewing Mace in Harlem on the streets, and Cam was right next to him. And Mace was like, "Yo, this is my boy Cam. He's next." Whatever. So they started talking about how consent. They were talking about consent in the wake of the Dwight Howard situation. And they were talking about how consent changes as you get money.
Yeah.
So Mace told a story about how they would go to the clubs and Mace would tell ladies he was talking to.
He said, if it ain't happening tonight, it ain't happening.
Yes. And that was how consent came up for him. And Mace was like, I love that Mace. That's what Cam said. Like, oh, I love that Mace. I miss that Mace. And then he was like, I never understood why Mace started to change when he got money. Like, yo, we're going to go out to dinner first. We're going to go to Mr. Child's, or we're going to take this trip. And he's like, why are we going through all this, dude? Like that's not what we do. And then Cam said, I realized that money does change consent. Like when you get more money, it changes the perspective of consent. And because when you have money, you just can't be as direct because people can take that. And all of a sudden, you have
You're in a lawsuit.
This lawsuit, right? But when you take somebody out to a nice dinner,
and they accept a lot more.
They accept a lot more.
It builds your alibi better.
Right. But they were talking about it expands what you expect on the backside. Like,
like the Shannon Sharp video.
Exactly.
If you order, she said, what goes good with the lobster? He was like, a condom. Because if you order that, then we're going to have to have sex after this.
And but it was, some people, this is me. I have a sense of humor, Left.
That's right.
It takes a lot to offend me, even if you're talking about me and things that fit my lifestyle.
Like you can sit in the front row of a comedy show.
Man, if Dave Chappelle did 30 minutes on Christians, I would be dying laughing.
Absolutely.
I'll be dying laughing like, hey, dog. Hey.
It is what it is.
If I can't laugh at some of the funny things that we do just in general in life, it's like, then come on, man. You can't take life seriously. But they're super petty for extending the conversation and talking about how consent changes with money. It was hilarious, but I was like, man, y'all petty for this.
Absolutely.
Because I knew it probably upset a lot of people. And I'm glad Cameron also said what we need to do is take this Dwight Howard conversation just out of the parameters of his lifestyle and apply it to everyone, because it applies to everyone.
That's
I
right.
thought that needed to be said, because it was too much focus on just him and his lifestyle
Barbecue.
and the full thing. So we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, man. Appreciate you. Left. Yo, you inspired me. I'm about to go get something to eat. I think the missus made some nice turkey legs or something.
That's
So
right.
I'm about to get to it. Man. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Irish, but most of all, make sure you spend it different.